de entrevistar con nosotros.
Bueno, Baerga, hoy vamos a estar entrevistando a una persona que es como nosotros, que le gusta todo esto, lleva muchos años siendo un reportero, es uno de los reporteros más grandes en el béisbol de las grandes ligas en cuestión de cubrirlo, lo cubre a través de televisión, radio, también hace muchas cosas en las redes sociales, también trabaja con una compañía y otras compañías que vamos a estar mencionando. Definitivamente sabemos que muchos en Puerto Rico y en Latinoamérica saben quién es el señor Ken Rosenthal, y aquí le damos la bienvenida a Ken Rosenthal. Primero lo hacemos en español. Bienvenido, Ken Rosenthal. Me gustan los deportes. Now we can say in English too. Welcome, man.
Thank you, guys. I understood what you were saying somewhat. I appreciate it. Good to be with you.
Let me see. We got Baerga. We got you.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, we have a little delay probably with Baerga. We might have a little delay with you, but we just want Kenny and the folks to, that are live with us to understand.
Let me check.
All right. We're live, guys. We're live. This happens live. Kenny, you know how this is.
I know how it is, man.
First of all, we appreciate you coming to, with us here and be with us here. I mean, we are nuts about baseball. We've been doing this. I started this like 11 years ago. We're going on 12. You know how social media was. It was, it was just people just going crazy once in a while, but eventually it got pretty big. I mean, did you guys surprised when it got that big all of a sudden a few years back?
Yes, I did. And at first, I didn't even want to be on Twitter. I was like, I'm not going to do that. That's stupid. And eventually, I came to realize that you had to be on Twitter. That was where the action was. So, yes, it has surprised me, but now nothing surprises me anymore. It's a big deal.
All right, now we got Carlos. Carlos, can you hear us?
All right, Carlos.
Yes, what an honor to have you with us, Ken. It's always a pleasure. I have the opportunity when I play and when I was around the the ballpark to say hi to you, and I always respect the work that you do for Major League Baseball.
Thank you very much, Carlos, and it was a pleasure watching you play, man. Total pleasure.
Thank you.
Carlos, I mean, we're ready to go. I mean, guys, we got a few questions for you. We know we got the Hall of Fame going on. We got a lot of things going on in baseball. We do know there's something going on with you, lady, but we're gonna leave it at the end so you could say what you want to say about it and all that stuff. But we didn't bring you for that. We didn't even know what was going on. So now we brought you. Let's start with the Hall of Fame. All of a sudden, we're seeing a few things in the voting. Of course, this is just the public one. I mean, not all of them have going public. But first question that I would like to ask you about this: do you like this? What Ryan Thibodeau is doing around Twitter? He's been doing it for a little while now. I don't know how long he's been doing it, but to go, showing this public and get the people an idea of what's going on. Do you like that?
I have no problem with it. Now, people need to understand that it's not always an exact match with accuracy to what will happen, right? We've seen over the years that usually the guys do better in what Ryan compiles than in what they actually do once the voting is complete. So looking at David Ortiz there, he might not get 81%. He probably will get something in the 70s. But it is a pretty good indication of what people are thinking. And I am someone who thinks that we should make our ballots public. It's our responsibility to be transparent like that, and I have no problem with people keeping track of it like he does. He does a great job.
You are surprised that you see Clemens and Bonds way up there. I know last year there was close to 70 in there. But you are surprised at that?
A little surprised, but again, guys, this is, I think, 31% of the vote, right? So a lot of the people who might vote against them won't reveal their ballots, and not everyone makes their ballots public. So I would caution against thinking that this means that they're going to get in. I would be surprised if they got in based on the last few years when what they gained each year was very small. And I expect that what they gain this year might be a little bit greater because it's their last year, but I'd be a little bit surprised if they got in.
Well, now, guys, you're listening to Ken Rosenthal, because I've been saying, Kenny, for the last few weeks, that I really think the way this is going, for me to believe for sure that, un David Ortiz will go in at least, for sure, I would love to see David right now like in 89, 90%, just to give an idea that when it goes down, hey, he might be in the 76, 77. But right now, I'm one of the guys that think that nobody's getting in this year. But that's just me, people. You don't have to follow me. But Kenny's saying,
no, you might be right. I believe you might be right. In fact, if I had to bet right now, and I don't, but if I had to bet, I would probably bet that no one gets in, even based on what we're seeing so far. Yeah.
Listen to that guy. This guy know he's been doing it for a lot of years. I got a question, Ken, and something that is bothering me a little bit because I believe, to get in the Hall of Fame, you know how special it is for a player. And you guys, but Ken, I don't like when writers doesn't write anything down, doesn't put anything down. I don't think that's not respect in there. They should do something.
When they leave the ballot blank?
Yeah, blank.
Yeah, okay, Carlos, here's my feeling on that. And I understand what you're saying. And a lot of people feel the same way you do. My feeling is if you are in the Baseball Writers Association for 10 years and get the ballot, that's how you earn the ballot, by being in for 10 years, then it's a vote. And you have the right to vote any way you want. It's like in any election. You can vote for this person, that person, or not vote at all. Now, do I agree with the people that don't vote at all and just leave it blank? No, I don't agree with that. But when people say, hey, take their ballots away, no, that's not what I think is proper, because it's your choice as a voter. You can choose up to 10, you could choose 5, you could choose 0. Whatever that choice is, that's your choice. But you also should be prepared to defend that choice and explain why you are making it that way.
all right, and that's one thing that we wanted to talk about with you too, because my feeling is, I mean, if you're gonna leave it blank, just don't make it public right away. Just wait until the end, and then. But when you make it public, I feel like you want to tell the world why you're doing it, why this, that. So I think it's, I don't know, I feel a little weird the way they do that part, but I'm okay with it. But one thing about that, staying in that area of the voting for the Hall of Fame, we get a lot of people saying, I didn't vote for this guy or that guy or whatever, because I think he used PED. I mean, one thing I say, Kenny, even though it doesn't mean I'm right, but what I say is we got Bud Selig in, that was, for me, one of the guys that saw this coming for a long time, nothing happened, didn't do nothing. And we had to mention Kenneth Landis, that was the commissioner that, of course, while he was the commissioner, the color players couldn't play in the big leagues. They're already in. So I don't know. I feel so weird when I hear one of these guys saying, I'm not voting for so-and-so because I think he used PD.
That's a fair point. Now, the one thing I will say is that Bud Selig was not elected by the writers. Okay, he was elected by one of the veterans committees. So the writers' ballot and what we do is different and separate from that. Now, among the writers, all kinds of opinions, and some of us have changed our minds over the years. At first, I didn't vote for Bonds and Clemens. Now I do. Why? Because I believe that there are players who use PEDs that are in the Hall of Fame, and if we conclude that Bonds and Clemens did it, well, why are we leaving them out? We don't know exactly who did what and when. Now, at the same time, I do not vote for Manny Ramirez, and I do not vote or did not vote this year for Alex Rodriguez. And my explanation there is because they were caught using steroids and penalized for using steroids after the rules were made very clear and put in place. Now, there are people who say, Ken, that's wrong, that's ridiculous. You have to vote for all of them or none of them. And I understand that. And who knows, maybe one day I will change my mind on Manny and Alex. Certainly amazing players. I mean, that's not even a question. But that's the way I feel right now. And I know that there are a lot of different opinions on this. People have all kinds of opinions. And I respect them all. It's a very personal thing. It's a choice you make as a voter. And some guys will say, some women who vote will say, hey, none of them. I'm not voting for anybody I think used. Okay. Or some will say I'm voting for all of them. Or some will be like me, voting for some and not all. It's very difficult to make that decision. It's very difficult to make what you might think is the right decision. And that's why it's so difficult to explain and to justify, because there's really not a right answer here.
Yeah, that's true. Ken, talking about this, about the votes, we see that the Bonds Roger Clemens are getting close to, to be where they want to be. But there's a couple players that at that time when they have to go and pee every time that they say they never got cut and stuff like that. But the people forget about them, like Sammy Sosa, like Juan Gonzalez, like Carlos Delgado, guys that put unbelievable numbers. Do you believe they're going to have the opportunity to get in?
Well, not this year for Sosa. I don't think it's going to happen this year. But down the line, now, over time, when these players become eligible for the veterans committees, right, the different ones that exist now, perceptions might change. People might change their opinions. Now, those committees are tougher on these players than we are, actually, as writers. The committees consist of former players, some executives, some writers. But it's possible that in time, people will change their minds. And I'll give you an example, not a person that was accused or alleged to have used steroids, but a person who became a Hall of Famer over time, but not early. This was among the writers, okay? This was just a writer's thing.
No.
Burt Blyleven, initially, very little support. And over time, people began to appreciate his career. And he was on the ballot 15 years, and in the 15th year, he made it. Now, it's different again with the veterans committees, but I do not rule out one day some of these players getting elected by the veterans committee who might look at this a little bit differently than the writers are looking at it now.
I mean, just to let Kenny know, I know I'm pretty sure he already know, but since we got a lot of Puerto Ricans and Latinos around here with us in this life, I mean, we are very upset, Kenny, with the way Carlos Delgado was treated. I mean, I don't think Carlos Delgado got a fair shot, and it's mainly at the end. It feels like it was politics or whatever because of the national anthem and all this stuff. And if that's the only bad thing a guy could do, man, that's not criminal. I mean, you could.
Well, I actually, guys, think that writers did not hold that against him. Maybe a few, but I have a hard time believing that. Most writers would not have a problem with Carlos doing that. Now, I think the real problem with his candidacy was that he was a first baseman at a time of great offense. And that position, you have to have supreme offense, amazing offense. He was really good. And I think he deserves a good look from one of the veterans committees. He's a classic guy. He was never alleged to have used performance-enhancing drugs. And he's really close. There's no question. Fred McGriff is another one. Fred McGriff is someone I did vote for. And both those guys, to me, are right there in the conversation. And I understand if I was a fan of Puerto Rico, I would feel the same way about Delgado. I completely understand that. But I think the reason was not the thing that he did with the flag. He was actually ahead of his time.
Because it's good what you're explaining right now. But it just feel like, man, if we go by the way you're thinking, Kenny, common sense, you should get at least 15% and just stay in the ballot. Now, I mean, get less than 10%. I mean, we're talking what? He get less than 10 votes, something like that.
10 votes, yeah.
That when he was on the ballot was very crowded and we're restricted. Yeah. We can only vote for 10. So I expect that he will get a longer look from the Veterans Committee. But the problem I think he has, again, is first base. That's Lou Gehrig and McCovey and all these amazing hitters. And Carlos was not quite at that level. Really good. So maybe in the future he'll be viewed in a different way. But I understand everybody who says, hey, man, this guy's getting shafted.
Hey, Baerga, I'm just saying it only because it's a good point what Kenny says, because it kind of makes you feel, and I'm sorry I'm into this. I just see people writing here, and I just want to make sure everybody get everything. I just feel like what Kenny's saying, that it's pretty much what a lot of people think the same way because they were talking about this for a while. It makes you feel like we are saying we cannot have more than this many first basemen. To be able to have more than 5, you're really going to have to be something. You have to be Cabrera. You have to be Pujols to be over that. But
I think that's the case. I think that's exactly it.
Kenny, then I see, and I don't know if you probably don't feel the same way we feel. I see Scott Rowling. Yeah, he was good, but he only had like 6 years where he played more than 150 games.
Yes.
That he was there. So for me, good player, but he's not a Hall of Fame, but he's getting way better love than not just Delgado, all the guys.
Well, I do like Roland, and I do vote for him. And the reason is the combination of offense and defense. And yes, the games played is an issue. There's no question. And listen, except for a very few of these guys, you just mentioned Miggy and Albert Pujols. Those guys, we know there's not even a question. They're Hall of Famers. But certain other players, it's kind of, you might like them, you might not. Roland is a guy I like because of the all-around play. But if you sit here and tell me, Ken, what you just said about the stats, about the games played, can't argue with that. That's a fair point. So this is the beauty of it. These are the kinds of discussions that are a lot of fun. These are baseball discussions.
Yes.
And the Delgado discussion, the Roland discussion, these are great baseball discussions. That's what the Hall of Fame vote used to be all about. Now, of course, it's about some other things as well.
I believe I love this discussion because they're great players. You know, for me, I have the opportunity to play with them, being there in the field. When I watch them play, it was something they step up. You know, the way they play, stuff like that. But I have to say, Juan Gonzalez and Sammy Sosa, their numbers talk about them. You know, and they need to get considered. You know, to be in the Hall of Fame. And I hope that they get there. You know, pretty soon. That's very important. Ken, I need to ask you something about a player that right now he's in the voting, Omar Vizquel. And I know that that what happened with his wife, his ex-wife. It was a big thing that happens maybe 4 months before he go to to get elected for the first time in the Hall of Fame. But now the judge a week ago say that there was a lie, that everything was resolved, that everything is over. That he gonna be considered, again, to be, high again, because right now he might lose, to be in the Hall of Fame for next year, because right now he's 9%, 7%, or something like that.
Carlos, the judge, what he did was, or it was a she, I believe, a woman judge.
She
basically just issued the divorce order. That was it. That judge did not mention anything about his domestic violence allegations that were brought by his ex-wife. And I was one of the co-writers of that story. We quoted people by name. We quoted police reports. We quoted eyewitnesses. Now, this divorce case had nothing to do with that. It did not come up in her ruling. So Omar said he was cleared, but that's not what the ruling said. Also, he's still under investigation by Major League Baseball. And he's still facing that other case in which he is alleged to have harassed a bat boy for the Birmingham Barons, where he was the manager. So if in the end, all of these things prove to be nothing, which I do not expect, quite frankly, after being one of the people who wrote that story, okay. But even though Omar said that, nowhere in that ruling did the judge address any question of domestic violence. So yes, it is definitely hurting him in the voting. I changed my vote this year.
Okay.
Vote for him at least while this is all going on. Might I change?
So you guys want to make sure that everything is off, that everything is okay, and the judge, to make sure that the show.
I don't know that we'll ever know this. I don't know that we'll ever know.
Okay.
Everything is okay. And again, I wrote that story. I've talked to people for that story. I remember it very well. So
okay.
See as time goes on how that all plays out.
And we just want to let everybody know too that we interviewed Omar Vizquel when his divorce got completed and all that. Of course, we gave him a shot to be here and say his part and all that. And at the end, we'll find out what's going on. I mean, I was one of the ones that I was worried, of course, Kenny, because if a lot of guys don't voting for him, he pretty much would be left out completely out of the ballot, and then it'll be. And then all of a sudden, if he become to be innocent or something, then it would be like, wow, what can we do now? But it's okay. I mean, and you reported all this stuff because you guys in the Athletic were the one that were doing that, like you said.
Yes.
Kenny, now that you're mentioning that, before people keep writing and all that, so people know. I mean, when you work with the Athletic, and everybody in the Athletic is gonna do a report or is gonna do something. I mean, how hard you guys work to make sure you get everything before you even say a word?
Very hard. And I can't even emphasize enough how hard we work at that. And we gave Omar a chance in that story to talk, and he did. And we checked those stories, what people were saying. We checked them with other people. Again, there were not just the statements of his ex-wife, but statements by people who supported what she was saying. Now, that was not, again, part of this divorce case. That's something else entirely. And all I can say, guys, is we stand by that story. We are not backing off that story.
Okay. Okay. You know, we have to make sure that everything get clear. You know,
no, I appreciate you asking. Of course.
That's important for us. Omar is it's a great player. He's a great person. I had the opportunity to play with him, and I never in my mind go through the Omar was that kind of person, and I never go through my mind. But you never know. You never know what anything can happen. I got a question for you, Kenny, and I had to ask you. The Robbie Alomar case, you know, the MLB suspend Robbie Alomar for life. How this can happen? How they say Robbie Alomar got suspended for life, and you see Mickey Callaway, they got a couple of women, you know, like 2 or 3, and you see the GM, they got like 2 women or something like that. They got 2 years, and Robbie Alomar got suspended. He's banned for baseball. How do you see this?
I actually don't know the answer, and I don't know what he did, and I don't have the information that I did, for instance, on what he did as opposed to Vizquel. So I do not know exactly what happened there and why he did not fight the suspension, or seemingly did not fight the suspension. I assume, actually I shouldn't assume, I would imagine at some point more information comes out, but I do not know really the details of that one.
And that's good too. I mean, we wanted to make sure about this because we're going like, you know, I mean, if he did something, just go ahead. Okay, fine. You decide to do this move with him, you know, okay, Ren, say something. At least we know what's going on. But like you say, I mean, he had decided not to fight it yet and all that. So that makes it worse too, because then you have 2 sides that's all quiet. But I hope at the end, you know, we know for sure what's going on everywhere. And of course, like we always say, Baerga and Kenny, we're completely against all this stuff, against women and violence and all that stuff. Definitely, you know, it's just that at the end, since we don't know what's going on, we will, you know, we had no idea what the heck is going on with that. Okay, now that we're talking about all this stuff with problems and all that, I mean, I was one of the guys, Kenny, that was raising my hand and say what baseball did with P. Rose was good. At the beginning, I thought it was the right decision because since we play minor league baseball, the first time I got drafted, I went through a door. That was the big sign there says, you're not bet on baseball. You just don't do it. And I'm okay with that. But lately, for the last few years, we've seen baseball getting together with the betting system and all this stuff. Now I could put a game, and when the game going on, they have even shows about it. I mean, do you feel like it's time to do something about P. Rose if that's the only thing that is keeping him away?
This is a very good question. You guys are asking really good questions. Now, the one thing I will say about Rose, the one difference, and I worked with Pete at Fox, and I know Pete, and I know how passionate he is about the game, but he committed the cardinal sin, and that sin is betting on the game as a player, betting on his team, etc. That is the biggest no-no. You guys know it. You just mentioned it. You walk through the door, that sign is there. Now, you might say, hey, whoa, what about baseball business with all these gambling companies? That's not much different. Well, it is different in baseball's mind. And because he did it that way, that was what he did. He wasn't simply gambling on horse racing. He was gambling on the games he was involved with. That's the unforgivable offense in the sport. It always has been. So I understand why. I also understand why people say, hey, how is he not in the Hall of Fame? It's ridiculous. Even though he did this, we can note that he did this, but still put him in the Hall of Fame. I get it.
The other day, I listened to Johnny Bench, that his brother, and he say, man, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen because what you just say, it's a big thing. When Palillito say, when you walk in through the door, that thing is right there in the wall. That you cannot do that. That's very special. Another thing that I want to ask you, and something that I still, it bothered me a little bit, is that the situation about Carlos Bertrand. I thought that Carlos Bertram got treated bad, from Major League Baseball, because when the Player Association and Major League Baseball announced, that they're gonna take care of the things for the Astros, they say that any player his name wasn't gonna come out, and the only name that came out was the Carlos Bertram. Do you think that this is wrong?
Well, I was involved in that story too, and reporting that story.
Okay.
And I wasn't involved in making Major League Baseball's report. And you're right that no other player was named. Alex Cora was named, but he was a coach, not a player.
Yeah.
And I can't speak to why they named him. Now, he certainly was involved in what happened and in what went down there. And I wrote a story with another person later saying that a lot of the players on that team, the younger ones, felt that because Carlos was the man, as he always was, that they had to follow along. Not that he bullied them, not that he forced anybody to do anything, but they just felt he was such a presence in the clubhouse that they couldn't speak up. Okay. Now, whether being named in the report, again, that's a question for Major League Baseball. But we reported what we did, and he was involved. And listen, I'm a huge fan of Beltran. I love Beltran, the person. Obviously, he made some mistakes here. I do want to see him back in the game. We see AJ Hinch back in the game. We see Alex Cora back in the game, both successful.
That's what it bothered me, because I see these people. I see Alex, my friend, and I say AJ Hinch in the game, and Carlos Bertram is already 2 years out of the game.
Right now, I don't know if he's had.
About him.
I don't know if he's had offers to come back or not. I don't know. And listen, that is something that will have to play out over time. And I expect over time he will be back in the game if he wants to be. But again, because Cora is back, because Hinch is back, yes, he should be back too. They serve their punishment.
I mean, and the one thing that I could add to that about my, because people always hear me talking here and all that, so people know what I've been saying about these things that happen, Kenny. It was that. A lot of people were saying, even writers that sometimes will talk to me through Twitter, they'll be like, yeah, but Beltran was retired already. I said, yeah, Brian McCann too was retired. He was part of that team too. Why you guys don't, Major League didn't put his name there, Brian McCann too? They all stay quiet. They all don't say nothing. And you know how it is, Kenny. I mean, then everybody start making conjunction of, okay, well, this one is a Puerto Rican, this one is American. Oh, that's why it's going on. Because you know how we are so divided in this world that, they let the door open. I think MLB for doing that. I mean, because the main thing was they told the players, you talk and you get immunity. I mean, we're not going to mention nothing.
Very true.
So we feel like Beltran and Brian McCann too. I'm not saying that Brian McCann neither. Brian McCann too, even though that they were retired when the report came out, they should at least, keep them quiet. And probably if that would have happened, then Carlos Beltran probably would still be with the Mets and all that. So I feel bad about that part. I still would have loved, Kenny, not just you, but I still would have loved a lot of people in the media be like, why MLB mentioned then whatever you say, no, whatever, because just we were lost. I mean, how could Brian McCann wasn't and he wasn't? And I mean, so it became bigger than other people.
The difference was Beltran was one of the organizers of what they did. McCann was not. Now, the question you're asking is, why was he named in MLB's report? Now, again, I can't speak to that, but certainly from what we reported in The Athletic, what he did and what McCann was involved with were two completely different things. McCann, from what we know, was not involved. Beltran was. Or McCann was not involved, at least in organizing it. Whether he was taking the signs, I can't say.
I just, man, as a player, I cannot walk into the ballpark and do whatever I want in any ballpark. For me to move a camera from this side to this side, my permission had to come from the manager, have to come from somebody up there. And I don't think a player can be leading this situation. And I know this is over. This is happening in 2017.
Yep.
But I think that the way that they handled this was wrong. And I hope that the press or anybody can say, I think it's time to get Carlos Bertram back, because the kind of person he was, the kind of player he was, and the kind of, I think, the manager that he can be, because, what you heard about every player, everybody talked very highly. Even the Yankees talk very highly about him.
Of course.
And I believe that Carlos Beltran is going to be a great manager. And he's a great person, great friend. But I believe he's an honest person. And I always respect him. And I hope that Major League Baseball, help him to get back to the game, back again.
Okay.
But I mean, adding to this, because we're not going to keep you here all night, Kenny.
Yes.
I know.
And I thank you
going on.
Carlos
Kenny,
said 10 minutes, but these are all good questions.
Yeah, I know.
I do this thing with, always stray and all that, but I'm a Bostonian. I love my Boston Red Sox. That's my team. I don't know if you know, but my dad, Jose Santiago, was with the Red Sox. So I'm a full Boston impossible dream team from now. But every time I put this list, people get on me. They want to kill me because I don't have, for example, I don't have Yogi Berra. I don't have Derek Jeter. For Ken Rosenthal, do you think these top 5 Yankees, it's a good list, or Arnold should put Derek Jeter somewhere there and get somebody out?
Well, it's a great list. Now, could you say Jeter belongs there? Of course, Jeter belongs among the top 5 Yankees. I actually would probably agree that those 5 are the 5 greatest. And not that Jeter wasn't great. Don't get this wrong. It's like when we talk about Hall of Fame candidates. They're all great, but it's some that are just best ever at what they did. Those players that you just flashed up there were among the best ever at what they did. Jeter was a great, great player. I don't know that he's one of the all-time great shortstops. It's almost a little bit different. Then again, any Yankee fan who wants to say, what are you talking about? 4 World Series rings. He did amazing things. He was amazing in the clutch. That is all true. But I have no problem with that list. And I would also have no problem if Jeter was on the list.
Yeah. Don't mention nothing about the glove. We're not talking about glove here.
The glove
nothing.
in the later years.
Yeah.
You know what? His glove is fine.
You know what? I have to say something. I had the opportunity to go and check Jeter's numbers. Wow. And we need to get respect from Jeter. Jeter played over 156 games, more than 13 times, Parillito, in 18 years. More than 18. And this guy had, his numbers, 200 hits, you know how many times? Like 6 or 7 times. For you to do that, you have to be a good hitter.
No doubt.
This guy was amazing.
And Carlos, you played against him. That was a special player. That was a special
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more, guys.
Yeah.
I don't even know why do I talk about the Yankees. I don't know why I do this, but whatever. At the end,
top 5 Red Sox.
Hey, to finish, Kenny, now that you're here with us, I mean, we didn't know what we said at the beginning. We didn't know what was going on until we were ready to come in the air. So, I mean, we got you here. We, of course, if we don't ask you, we're just bad reporting people. Yeah, definitely. But we need to ask you, I mean, we heard, is it true, not true, about the MLB Network job?
I will not be there any longer. And that was their decision. And they're entitled to make that decision. It's their network. It's MLB Network, not Ken Rosenthal Network. But I had a long time there, more than 12 years. They were great years. I loved every minute of it. And that's really all I want to say about it. But it is true. It's not a rumor. That's fact.
Okay. They say they come up with something like something happening in June or July that you say something that they don't like that, and I don't want to think that because you say something as a reporter, you cannot say all the time, yes, this is blue and this is red. You have to say what you feel and what you see. That's the way I think, and I respect you because that and. Wow, I know they're gonna miss you. They're gonna miss you because you do a great job. But I know that you're still working with Fox Sports, and you're working with you are vice president
the
of
athletic and all that stuff that you're doing. So the door is open here for you to come and say whatever you want, my man.
Right, thanks,
whatever you want, except the Red Sox. Don't talk about the Red Sox. But you can do. I appreciate it, man. Have a happy New Year, definitely. Happy New Year, and I mean, God bless you, my man.
Appreciate it.